going. So I have this thing about feeling into the collective energy. And lately it's been very thick, very sticky. Last week it was very like cloying. Today, today I was in this beautiful contemplative mood and decided to just touch in with the collective. Well, let me tell you, I touched in and I touched out really quick. Um, I there a lot of confusion and screaming. Like I heard screaming. No definitive words, nothing like that, but just a lot of screaming coming from the collective, you know. So, which made me go right into compassion. Uh, okay, so let's get going. All right, I'm going to take a few breaths. Everybody, welcome. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you so much. You'll get the recording afterwards when we're finished. We're probably within an hour or so of us finishing up. All right, thank you so much for taking your time out to be with us today. The professors have been chatting away this morning, so let's see what they're going to have to say. All right, thank you again. Let me just take a couple of deep breaths. Yes, and good day to you, my darlings. Madam B here, just wanting to wish you just so much love and just bring through so much love for you, setting the stage for the rest of the group who we got be coming closer to speak with all of you. But what I would like for all of us to do, my darlings, is for us all to take a nice deep breath together. Oh, a nice deep breath. One more. Let me take a moment just to. Our dear Stacy loves these things. Mm, mm, mm. Oh, I will savor it. I will savor it. There is nothing like the human experience, dear friends. Nothing like the human experience. You experience it all here on the planet. It is something many times you're wanting to escape your reality, but really life here on earth is to be savored, to really be enjoyed, to not be in suffering. We've been talking to a smaller group about this, about no more suffering. And damn it, isn't it about time? Don't you want to give up the suffering, dear friends? Don't you want to give all of that up? Of course you do. Of course you do. You are great divine beings and you do not need to be in suffering. The suffering belongs to an old, old game that was being played on the planet. But there are many now who are jumping onto a new board game, a board game where there is no suffering, where there is no trauma, where there is no victimhood, where there is none of that. There is just pure, joyful sovereignty. And that is the name of the game that humanity is moving into. Now, it may not seem like it on the world scene when you, even our dear Stacy, as she reached in, she said she touched in with the collective and it felt very confusing, very disorienting. And yes, indeed, a lot of yelling, a lot of screaming is going on in the collective energies right now, in the collective consciousness right now. There's a lot of fear, there's a lot of anger. It really comes down to fear, and it comes down to perspective. It comes down to reality and perspective. What I would like to do is to draw an illustration for you to bring your attention to how there are so many different realities, even just in your daily life. Think about it for a moment, dear friends. You go from being fast asleep to being awake. Well, there's a shift in reality. You go from waking up to now getting out of bed. Well, there's a shift in your reality, because now your reality is you are no longer asleep, but now you are awake. And now you are not just awake, but now you are out of bed and moving around. Well, your next reality could be that you go use the bathroom, or you go get washed up, or you make your coffee. But you see how your reality changes in every moment. Just in your waking life, how your reality changes in every moment. Now, perhaps you share a home, a living space with a partner, with children, and you will find that their moment-to-moment realities may be very, very different from yours, even though you're living in the same space. You see. Now, add to that perception. So not only do you have different realities from moment to moment, but you also have very different perceptions from moment to moment as well, all all run through your own filters of experience. So perhaps some of you wake up and you're very joyful. You will have certain things that you know you're wanting to do, and so through your perception of the day, through your perception of your reality, oh, it's going to be a very good day. But then there are some of you who wake up, or you start progressing about your day, and your experience is showing you something different. And so your perspective changes throughout the day. There are some who are happy to be at work. There are some who are not happy to be at work. There are some who are happy to be awake. There are some who aren't happy to be awake. It is all also, not only do your realities change from moment to moment, but your perceptions of your realities change as well. And this is part of what we want to talk about today collectively as a group. Reality and perception, and how things are even playing out in the collective. How, especially on a day like today, there are many who are playing the never forget game. They are playing the never forget game, choosing to stay in a reality that is long past now, but wanting to keep that reality alive for their own different reasons, for their own different, from their own different perspectives, you see. So take another nice deep breath, dear friends. Draw us closer. Stay in the reality and the perception of this moment. For in truth, the only moment you ever have is the current. And good day to you, dear friends. Our dear madam, our dear madam. We think sometimes she just comes in just to pull on this thing, or to drag off of this thing. Good day to you, dear friends. Indeed, as dear madam mentioned, there are many today who are playing the do not forget game, never forget game. And this is appropriate for many. We're really wanting you to, we're going to talk today about perceptions and realities, how everything is changing, how realities and perceptions of reality are changing. And it all has to do with the collapsing of time. Now, the collapsing of time is, it does not mean that you will not mark time anymore on your calendars or anything like that. What we're really referring to are potential timelines that are collapsing into each other. There are many different potentials that you yourselves individually walk into. and collectively, and the collective of humanity also walks into or moves into or chooses. Much like when Madam B spoke about, you wake up, and perhaps you wake up, some of you wake up happy, some of you don't, some of you proceed about your day, some of you don't. You make different choices along your day according to your perceptions of things and according to your experiences. It is very much the same with timelines, or what we call potentials. There are many, many different potentials. Perhaps today is a day that many are playing the do not forget or the never forget game. But we would say to you that there is another potential where the day that is being marked on this anniversary never happened. Or it happened in a very different, more graceful way. You see, there are so many different potentials here, and all of these potential timelines are folding in on themselves. And this is by what we mean by time folding in on itself. Time is also very restrictive. Time has kept everything in this game on Earth in place. There were certain trajectories that were that became greater potentials for humanity to move into. Many of those potentials have played out. But you have moved into now a more expanded timeline, not only individually, but collectively. You have moved into a timeline or a potential that is much more expansive than you've ever been in before. In other words, you played by certain rules all along through many of your expressions of those things you call past lives, or even just in this expression alone, in the time that you've been on this planet, just in this expression alone, as whoever you are, there have been many potentials that have played out. Now, you have moved into a much more expanded potential because all of these potentials has folded in on themselves. And what happens is these potentials, all of these timeline potentials have folded in on themselves, and they have sort of come out and doing this, and now they are expanding out, which means basically that humanity, you yourselves individually and collectively, can choose now from a much more expansive way of expression. You are seeing this in the fluidity of many things. Now, we are not talking about your rules and your laws on your planet, but what we're really talking about is the expression of people on the planet, the expression of individuals on the planet, and then collectively. It is becoming much more expanded in your versions of what should or shouldn't be. Perhaps 10, 15 years ago, there were just handfuls of people who were now identifying, even as gender, identifying either or. But now you are seeing an expansion and a fluidity in those who now are expressing as more than either or. They're expressing and. It is really, really expanding in the way that humans are expressing. You are also seeing the expansion and the pushing of limits and restrictions when it comes to sovereignty, having sovereignty over the body. That's what much of is playing out on the planet post-COVID, or in your COVID here. Or even when you're talking about these abortion laws and all of that. It is humanity's way of figuring out how to move into more sovereignty, into a more expansive way of being that allows for the expansive expression of each individual, which then reverberates out into the collective, you see. So that is what a lot of you are seeing going on the planet today. There are many, many expansive potentials that humanity is moving into. Now, you can look and you can say, well, humanity is on a downward spiral. Oh, indeed not. That might be the human reality and the human perspective. But from our perspective, and being able to see the more panoramic view of this, Humanity is spiraling upwards, you see. It's been a slow spiral, but humanity is spiraling upwards. Now, individually, for many of you, you've been on this sort of path for quite some time. You did not awaken and have your aha in one moment and the next moment become who you are in this moment. There was a slow spiraling up. As you were releasing. The more you release of the old identity and the old ways of beingness and the old timelines and the old potentials, the more you lighten and you wind up spiraling up. Well, it is the same for humanity. Humanity now is in the process of releasing a lot, and even this game of do not forget or remember. This is also helping. Our dear Stacy sometimes goes into a little bit of judgment around this, where she is wanting, can we all move on? However, an interesting thing is playing out even within this perspective, within this reality, those who are dealing in the reality of the never forget and wanting to play on that loop to some degree. What they're doing is they're still playing within the victim paradigm, but they're looking to release it, you see. Each time, many times an anniversary comes up here on your planet, especially an unpleasant one. Each time an anniversary comes up here on the planet, individually and collectively, it gives you the opportunity to revisit it. And now some will revisit it and want to stay in the heavier emotions of victim, or this happened to us, or this happened to me, or this happened to them, and want to stay within that victim. And not really want to push through and move beyond that. But then others, with each passing anniversary, will take that anniversary and look at it and perhaps find something within themselves to shift, thus beginning the upward spiral. So while we don't really encourage the marking of these sorts of anniversaries, especially for those of you who have been spiraling upward, have been working through this thing that you call ascension. And by the way, this terminology will leave you eventually. But for those of you who have been working towards your ascension, for those of you who have been working towards your expansion into mastery, you see, we would encourage you to not really pay attention to these sorts of things. They do have a way of assisting. These sorts of anniversaries do have a way of assisting humanity to some degree and helping to shift their trauma, and then helping to shift their perception, then helping to shift their reality. So these sorts of anniversaries do play a role in many aspects, in many regards. For some, it will work one way. For others, it will work another way. There is no black and white. You are finding that many things are no longer black and white in your world. There are many shades of grays. There are many shades of blues. There are many shades of pinks. There are many shades of reds. There are so many different colors, so many different shades of all the different colors. And humanity is now moving to a more expansive state and allowing for the expression of such. Now, it is a bumpy journey, and humanity is in for a bumpy journey. But even that is just a matter of perspective, you see. Even that is just a matter of perspective. From our perspective, from of course, our more panoramic perspective, we see that humanity is really trying to work it out. Humanity is really working hard to work it out. Humanity doesn't want to suffer anymore. Those who still want to suffer will leave the planet. Rest assured, they will suffer in leaving the planet as well. They will suffer as they leave. So those who still want to choose suffering, who still want to play in that old game, well, it's readily available for them. There is another reality, you see, just how you all have your own individual realities. You all have your realities. they will have their reality as well, and they just won't stay on the planet. And this is appropriate for them. It is a gift they're giving to themselves, you see. Don't look at it that there's a punishment in this or anything like that. It is a gift that they're giving themselves to leave, to not stay in suffering. Because on a soul level, they realize, well, there's not going to be anything really accomplished to suffering anymore. Suffering belongs to the old karmic game. And while there is still a collective karma on the planet, and you're still working in collectively, many of you have removed yourselves from that collective karma. You've removed yourselves from your own karma, your that own karmic wheel. You're all off of that. And there are many who are also getting off the collective karma game. You are creating new worlds here. And what happens? The old world must crumble. The old way of doing, being, and thinking must crumble in order to create the new. But the new thing here is that you are doing it simultaneously. If you want to go back to this thing you call the past, when you saw civilizations crumble, well, they crumbled over time, and then out of that, new civilization sprung up. But here what's happening is you are dismantling an old world and rebuilding a new world simultaneously. And so what's happening is there's a lot of confusion on the planet. It is literally affecting the central nervous systems of the body. So you are seeing this really played out with all the trauma, with all of the stuff that has risen to the surface. You see, there has been a flood of emotions. There has been a flood of energy that's come onto your planet that has actually helped to force, and you all called it up, by the way. You all called up this energy up collectively to bring all of that sludge up, to bring all of that stuff up, all of this residual karmic stuff, to bring it all up, all of this out of balance stuff, to bring it all up, all of this suffering stuff, to bring it all up now, to just clear it. Now, individually, you're able to do that much quicker than collectively. Collectively, you're dealing with a whole ball of balled, and it's all balled up and it's all compacted, but it's breaking up. You see, it's breaking up as all of these old potential timelines are folding in on themselves. It's breaking up much of this and taking it with it. And these old potential timelines belonged to, how can we say, humanity has chosen now to go up this spiral. Now, if you go to your unawakened neighbor and you say, oh, you chose to go up the spiral, they would not know what you're talking about. Oh, you have chosen your ascension? They would not know what you're talking about, you see. But collectively on a soul level and on a mass consciousness level, this was chosen. This potential, this higher potential was chosen, you see. And so all of the timelines and all of the potentials that belonged to or all of the timelines and all of that belonged to the decision to not ascend, to not raise the vibration, you see, all of those are collapsing in, and attached to all of that was all that karmic crap that is all coming up, the collective karmic crap coming up to shift, to be cleared, much like you let go much of your baggage as you started ascending up. The collective is doing it as well. So be very gentle, be very gentle. The best thing that we can say to you is to send love, because love has no agenda. Love is a very, very neutral energy. So when you are sending love or just radiating love, being love and radiating love, this is all you need to do, being love and radiating love. Now, being love does not mean you take crap. Being love means that you can set your boundaries and all of that. But being love, it really comes from that place of not so much a human compassion, but more of your soul's compassion, understanding what's going on. You've all been through it, you see. You've all been through this. You're still going up the spiral, you see. But you've all been where humanity is. Think about your dark nights of the souls that you all went through. Think about all that releasing that you went through, all the trauma around that, all of that trauma that came up that you needed to revisit in order to clear it all out to be where you are now, you see. Well, humanity is doing this collectively. So it is no wonder why our dear Stacy heard screaming and all this confusion in the collective. It is no wonder. But perspective is an interesting thing. And in line with the potentials that humanity is moving into, it's very interesting about your focus, what humanity chooses to focus on, and what humanity chooses to focus on many times, all times really. There are always more expansive reasons or more, we'll leave it at that, more expansive reasons for that. In this case, let us bring your attention to the bee. Oh, there's great fear and great anxiety around the bees leaving the planet. The bees are leaving the planet. Oh no, the bees are leaving the planet. Well, that is one reality. Another reality is that the bees are showing humanity something, bringing focus to something. And again, if we may, from our more panoramic view, if we can share how even the bee is showing you where the collective of humanity is going. Oh, collective of humanity isn't leaving the planet, but neither are the bees. The bees have sort of gone into a hiding in order to bring focus to them. They have gone into a sort of game of hiding in order to bring focus to them, in order to bring a larger message, you see. Everybody loves bees. Oh, perhaps there are some of you who are allergic, and that is a different subject. But bees, people love to have the honeys, and people love to have bee decor, and you see how the bee has become the focus. But what it is doing, it is playing a game of hiding in order to bring focus to it. Look at the bee, look at the shape of a bee. A bee is anything but aerodynamic. A bee is anything but, even if you look at its wings are tiny in comparison to the weight of its body. For all intents and purposes, you look at a bee and you can say that thing should never be able to fly, and yet it does. And yet it does. It moves beyond its limitations. And this is the message that bee is showing all of humanity. Humanity is moving beyond its limitations. Humanity is moving into a collective sovereignty, an expansiveness never before seen on the planet. Your bee is also associated with the sun. Well, what is sun but light? All of the light coming into your planet. For indeed, you cannot, and light is simply an absence, dark is simply an absence of light. And there is more light in the way of energy streaming into the planet. Again, energy that you all called up, coming from source, coming from whatever it is that you want to call it, God source, whatever it is you want to call it. Collectively, you're all summoning this energy up, you see, bringing in more light. Bees are also teaching humanity that they are the caretakers of the earth. As the essence or the consciousness of Gaia releases herself from it, So you see, your news says, oh, the bees are dying. The bees are dying. We need the bees. But yet there are other realities to this, you see. There are other layers to this. Things perhaps that your human eyes do not see. And this is exactly what is happening with many of the events that have been and will continue to occur on the earth. Humanity is releasing its baggage, you see. Humanity is ascending. Humanity is expanding. Humanity, this is going to take some time, but you're going to see this on the planet. There's some rough times ahead, indeed, indeed. And we would encourage you all to keep your perspective, to keep to your reality, your perspective, your more broader, expansive perspective. Things are not always what they seem, as the bee teaches you. Things are not always as they seem. There is a lot that goes on that the human, with the human eyes, cannot perceive it, or the human eyes perceive something very literal, or it goes into a focus on just one thing. But if you allow yourselves to zoom out, and we are big fans of using this term, zooming out. If you allow yourself to zoom out and feel into, because you will not get it by going into your head and trying to mentalize it and reason about it or anything like that, or read. You do not even need the channelers for this. You do not need us for this. You drop into your heart centers. You just drop into your own field. You drop into your own knowingness, into yourself. Take a breath and feel into the more expansive view of things, especially as things get a little scarier on the planet. And we're going to use that word, and we use it in relation to the fear that will be projected on the planet. So for those of you who are sitting with us today, who will watch the recording, sit and be with your own potential, your own realities, your own potentials, and how they feel. Go into joy. Go into celebration. Allow your human to feel certain things if it needs to feel certain things. Allow it to feel sadness, anger, shock, awe. Allow it to feel that. But we always say never stay there. Don't bottle up, acknowledge it. And then take a breath, dear friends, and know that there are so many other attached realities to the only one that you're focusing on. There is always a bigger picture, dear friends. Always. Indeed. So we will open this up for questions. We just wanted to, yes, indeed. We will open this up for questions. We would like to turn the floor over to you. Yes, yes, dear friend Edda. We would ask you to unmute, please.
Yeah, okay, I got it. Well, the one message I got about the bee is just to be. And then the other question, the thought I had is, I've noticed that we always talk about extinction of animals and certain species, but then you hear about something appearing again.
Indeed.
So just, it's not just the bees, it's everything else. It's all the others that are just hiding as well, right? Because nothing is really extinct.
Absolutely not. They may vibrate out of existence here on your planet, but it doesn't mean that they vibrate out of existence altogether.
Right. Okay.
Indeed, indeed, indeed. Thank you for that, dear Edda. Thank you for that, dear Edda. Again, there are there are so many different dimensions. There are so many different, besides potentials and realities, there are so many different dimensions as well. Dimensions are not places, they are frequencies. Even when you leave the planet, basically what you're doing is when you die, basically all you're doing is vibrating out of existence. You're vibrating out of one dimension into another. It's a frequency. So you are basically vibrating out of one frequency and moving into a different frequency. So even those that, thank you for bringing this up, dear friend Edda, because even anything, your dinosaurs, they're still existing in another dimension. There are still, it doesn't necessarily mean that is a physical dimension. Planet Earth is very interesting, and in its density and in the density of its physicality. It is a very dense, indeed. Well, you're 3D. You're 3D. Let us put it to you that way. You're 3D. Your three-dimensional is a very dense, very thick. In fact, again, when our dear Stacy goes into this collective vibration, it is 3D, and so it feels very, very dense, very thick. Sometimes thicker than other times, but it is very thick and very dense. She described it as being very cloying, as if it was almost as if it was like thick tar that she felt she needed to pull off. Indeed, indeed. Anyone else? Anyone else have a comment? Yes, dear friend Erica.
I'm sitting here and I wrote down evolution. Can you speak to that, and in terms of ascension and expansion, and is that a human term, or is that talk to us about evolution?
Indeed, thank you, dear Erica. All terms on the planet are human terms. Evolution. Evolution means a progression, or what you would say a more upward progression of things. In that sense, you could say that it is synonymous with ascension, because ascension is an upward progression. Again, using linear terms, because even that term, we prefer to use this word expansion, and the reason being is, while your frequency is raising, which means it would go up, using linear terms, it would go up. But what you're really doing is also expanding out. You're not just expanding up, you're expanding out. So we prefer to use the term expansion. This is why we said to you, this term ascension will eventually not be used anymore. Because it's really more about your expansion. But what are you expanding into? You're expanding into more of yourself, you see. And as you expand into more of yourself, you expand into more even physical experiences as well, or experiences in physicality. So evolution versus ascension versus expansion, it can all be in the same pot, you see, is different ingredients into the pot, just different words. And humanity is moving into more expansion. Humanity is moving into, is ascending, is moving into more expansion. And you are seeing, and you're seeing, especially your younger generations are really, really taking things and stretching the reality or the old reality of things. You've had to learn different ways, even for these other generations to go to school to learn. You've had to broaden or expand on how they learn, how they're taught, all of that. And also you yourselves, as you have moved into more expansion, you have also had to have things expand for you in the way that you are expressing, in the way that you are wanting things to show up for you. The status quo is constantly changing. The norm, you say you are in a new normal. We say to you, you are in a new normal. And you can expect that to keep expanding as well, you see. There will be new normals coming up now quite frequently as humanity is moving into more expansion, more awareness, which leads to more expansion. As humanity is doing that, you will see many things expanding. You will see, yes, you will see expansion in so many different areas on your planet. But first, it is about expanding into, how can we say this? Expanding more into we don't want to say oneness with humanity, because that's sort of old new agey stuff, you see. It's really about expanding more into the oneness of you, into the totality of you, because even as all these timelines are folding into themselves, well, so are all of your potential time, your individual potential timelines as well, you see. That's all folding in on itself as well. And as it folds in on itself, it's all integrating and becoming part of you, you see. So every expression that you've ever had is all becoming part of you, which allows for an expansion into more of who you are, you see. Humanity is moving more into connectedness. We would prefer to use that term. Because when it comes to oneness, this old new age crap, oh, kumbaya, we are one with you, I am one with him, he is one with me, I am one with you, are knowing all of this. That's not really what oneness is. Oneness is about coming into oneness with the self and all your parts and pieces, all your traumatized pieces, all of that you brought into integration. Connectedness is a little different. Connectedness is understanding that your connectedness to each other, your connectedness to the planet, your connectedness to source, or God, whatever it is that you're wanting to call it. But more importantly, your oneness with yourself creates all of this connectedness. You see, you cannot come into connection with other beings, to real full connection with other beings, or even with the planet or anything else, if you are still separate from yourself, you see. If you are not feeling in oneness with yourself, you cannot come into connect. Oh, you can pretend that you are in connectedness. You can use that to sort of fill a void for yourself. Oh, I am connected. But you cannot really move into a full connection if you are not in oneness with the self first, you see. So you're going to see a lot of that expanding on the planet. You are already seeing it. You're seeing it done in the way of polarity, where and really polarity is really a sort of form of tribalism, and that is really the root of all what we would call your problems on the planet, or your challenges, or what you're seeing really on the planet. Your polarity really has been playing a big role here on the planet. Taking of sides. You are either for or against. You are either black or you are white. We're not saying this color of your skin. But there seems to be no middle ground. And this is where many are now in a sort of state of confusion, especially in what you would call older generations, because there was everything was black and white, and you were taught everything was black and white, or many were taught everything was black and white, and there was one way to do this, and there was one way to do that, and one way to do this. But now, as you've all discovered, there are many ways to get to the same place, you see. But humanity is having a little bit of trouble wrapping their heads around that. Humanity says, wait, that way is wrong. This is the way we were taught, and this is the only way to do it. So you're seeing the polarity, and that sides are being taken in so many different issues here on the planet, in so many different ways, in ways that are so insidious, in ways that are not even known to you, that there's so much polarity. But again, as this timeline, as all of this is crashing into it, folding into itself, you are going to see a lot of this polarity going away. It's sort of the last ditch effort, or the last tug. Even when there is a tug of war, eventually one side falls into the pit, and you will see that the side that says only this side is right, or only this or that side is wrong, you will see both of them fall on their asses, so to speak, their symbolic asses, and then everything needing, and then the air needing to be, once the dust settles, everything to be cleared. But make no mistake about it, humanity is in for some challenge. But we said to you very early on, when your COVID appeared on the planet, we said to you very early on, be with your year 2020, be with it. We even went so far as to say, enjoy it. Enjoy the freedom that it was giving you. Enjoy, do not look at we are not negating the deaths and all of that. Those who left the planet, which by the way, they're all here. They're all, they're sitting in a big arena here with all of you. They're sitting in a big arena watching, even those who left today on this Never Forget Day. They're all in a big arena here, sitting here watching you and celebrating with all sorts of sweets and party favors and all of that. But so while they're celebrating, there is much that is going to be occurring on the planet here, and you will see much of this playing out. You will see much of this playing out. So we would say to you, just like in your 2020, where we said, just be with it, just enjoy it, enjoy the freedom. You were being unplugged from so much. Many were able to spend more time at home with their families. Many were able to stay at home and have more time with the self, to really go deep within the self. And we encouraged you all very early on to enjoy your 2020, to really enjoy it and savor it. Because your 2021 and your 2022 was going to offer challenges, great challenges in the wake of this. Your COVID was a how can we say? I cannot find the word in Stacy's library, but it precipitated a lot of this expansion that humanity is going into. It was a major event, and anytime you have these major events on the planet, they do propel humanity into another spiral up. You see, into the next spiral. Your COVID had humanity jumping a few spirals. Yes, dear Master Mary, dear friend Mary.
Then would you say that the COVID was an opportunity?
Absolutely. It was, it precipitated it all, indeed. A catalyst, that is the word. It was a catalyst for it all. So whereas humanity was going up that spot, they were going up it was spiral slowly at a time. Think if all of humanity was walking up one big spiral staircase, how long it would take to get up that spiral. So your COVID came with an elevator to bring you up, to bring humanity up a little bit, you see. You jumped a few spirals there, humanity did, and we say good job. We say good job. So 2021 and 2022, oh, great joys, but also great challenges, especially in the collective. Now, for those of you who have chosen different potentials, different perspectives, who choose to see things from a more bird's eye view, so to speak, a more panoramic view, one that allows you, we have often said, you are in the world, but you are really no part of it. You see, it does not mean that you cannot feel human empathy or compassion or anything like that. Of course you do. But you are able to zoom out. There's our favorite phrase again. You're able to zoom out and know. You may not be able to see the whole picture, but you know that there is more than your focus of perspective is showing you in that moment, you see. And so you are able to take a breath. And this is why dear Madam even came in the beginning and encouraged you all to take your breath, to really move in. We encourage you always to take your breaths, dear friends. Always. Your breath connects you to so much more than you can even imagine. Yes, it fuels your body, it oxygenates it, all that. Everything that science says it does, your breath does. But even that is so much more and expanded. You are connecting with the golden essence of all that you are, coming into oneness with all that you are when you are taking that deep, conscious breath. And that is where the true lifeline is. That is what really fuels you. Indeed. Thank you, dear friend Mary. Anyone else? Questions? Yes, dear friend Etta.
Not really a question, but something I observed years ago. I had this stream of consciousness, and I kind of have this feeling that, we all come from light, which is different light, different colors have different densities. So now we're on this third D density, but I know others have spoken about the 4D and the 5D, and, the COVID was probably the preamble to supercharge us into the next one. But for me, it's always been about light. We've come from the light, we return to the light, and we make ourselves lighter, and also the planet lighter, which helps heal the planet. That's the understanding I always got for some reason.
Indeed, we would add to that, in addition, we would say to you that you are light.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at your body, it seems very dense, and yet there is so much space between the cells. There is so much space there that really you are not, and nothing that you lay your human eyes on is solid form, nothing. It just appears that is one perception, one reality. But when you are able, in this case, to zoom in through microscopes, which actually, when you are zooming in with the microscope, it actually gives you a zoomed out perspective, you see.
Right.
So you are light, much more higher frequencies, or that what you call light, has been coming into the planet in tsunami-like proportions, especially since this thing that you call the Lion's Gate. And understand, we always say, do not let time mark you, but you mark time. Certain calendar dates allow you to look and to bring a focus to certain things. You are seeing this today on your 9/11, certainly. But certain calendar dates also bring your attention to energies that are flowing in. And we have said before, the energies that came flowing in since even before your Lion's Gate, you could take it back even to your spring equinox. Much of the energies were really flowing in. They intensified around the time of your Lion's Gate, and after. They came in with tsunami-like force. And so there's much light being poured in, and it is because you are summoning up. It is not anything that is coming from outside of you, dear friends. Let us make that perfectly clear. It's nothing that's coming from outside of you. You're summoning it up, you see. You're drawing it all up. Indeed, even what is going on with your sun, your ozone, all of that, your science says one thing. Your science says, danger, danger, Will Robinson, danger, danger, Will Robinson. We say another perspective of that is allowing more light to come into the planet, allowing you to take on all of these light codes, allowing you to really hold much of these frequencies, or the planet to do it, for the planet to hold much of these frequencies. And then you draw it up, you see. So it is nothing that we could say to you, you're playing in planet Earth. You're not playing on planet Earth. You're playing in planet Earth. We could say to you that your sun is not what you think it is. Nothing, nothing, nothing that your human eyes set upon is what you think it is. Nothing. Indeed, indeed. Indeed, and another expression, you have different color eyes. You are looking at yourselves, probably you're looking at yourselves, or you're looking at our dear Stacy, and you're seeing she has very bright blue eyes. In another expression, she's very, very different, completely different, as are all of you, you see. And this speaks to going back to where we said there was another potential where this never forget event never happened. We said recently with a group, facts. Facts are a human concept. Facts kept the time-space continuum construct in place. Facts help the human make sense of certain things. But you are even seeing in the wake of your COVID that even facts are being questioned. And there is great purpose for that as well, dear friends. Facts are a human construct, a human concept. And now there are truths. Truths are a little different. Truths, even truths. Even truths. There are laws of the universe that are truths, and that's really those are really the only facts, so to speak. Everything else is very flexible, very fluid, very expansive, bigger than the human mind can wrap its head around. And this is why we say, don't mentalize things. You will get yourselves in trouble, especially now with all of the mental body chaos. If you allow yourself to go into this mental body chaos, if you get too mental over things, too intellectual over things, it will drive you mad, quite literally. And this is why we say to you, feel into you, drop into your heart, drop into your own energy, and feel from there. Because in truth, that's the only thing that matters. Indeed. Anyone else? Yes, dear friend Mary.
You know, Bashar says, all truths are true
Indeed.
until they're not.
Indeed.
Everyone's
until
truth
the
is
perspective is shifted. Until the perspective is shifted. Indeed. 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 Everything is very fluid. Everything is very expansive. There is no only black and white. There is no one truth. What is truth for you is not truth for another. And even your truths constantly change because your perspectives constantly change. You see. And this is because you are creator beings, you are creator energy. Creator energy is always moving towards expansions. It's always flowing. It's always shifting and changing. Even your famous artists didn't paint the same way every time. So, creation is always flowing. You are fluid, ever changing your perspectives. And if you are locked into one perspective, even in this thing that you call the spiritual domain or this spiritual topics. If you are locked into one perspective, oof, allow for all perspectives. Allow for all truths. We are not saying you must accept them as yours, but allow for it. Even if you think they're shit. Even if you think they are from the craziest of crazy. Again, don't take them on, don't adopt them. Because in truth, at one time, even still, there are some who would think some of your spiritual truths or some of your truths are crazy. You see, and yet here you are living it. It's all about perspective and allowing for the very, very varied perspectives. Allowing for, not taking them on, but also allowing for your perspectives for allowing you to zoom out and see a different perspective on things as well, dear friends. This will be your saving grace and your breath and your breath. Indeed. Anyone else? We ask you all to take a nice deep breath, dear friends, a nice deep breath, a nice deep breath. Indeed. Go into and practice being with you. Go in and really make a habit of or a regular practice of feeling your energy. Not in your head, not what you are thinking, not what you are feeling, just feeling into really getting to know your energy. Your own energy is like no one else's. It is highly unique, just as you are highly unique in all of your many ways of expression. Your energy is very highly unique. So I would say to you to really get to know your energy. To stay within it, get to know it, where it is, how far it expands. Play with expanding it and retracting it. Play with really getting to know your energy. When you are existing, when you are allowing yourself to be in that way of expressing, to really know your energy, that is the world that you all really exist in. You exist in your own energy. Which means you can look out through perceive it as a sort of force field. Not even that, Stacy, that is not the word we're wanting. But you are able to see through it as you are looking in the external world. You're able to look through your energy field at the external world, and you will be very, how can we say, we don't want to use the word selective. You will know the difference. You will know when it is your energy that you are in and when you are taking on the energy of the collective mass consciousness. So really get to know your own energy very intimately. Get to know yourself in that way. Because that is really where you exist. It is within you are not who you think you are in your head or any definition that you may have of yourself, nor are you really the visual that you see when you look in the mirror. You are your energy. Get to know it very intimately. Get to know you very intimately. Indeed. Anything else, dear friends? If not, we're going to leave off on this. We are able to look out the window. It is quite lovely here, quite beautiful, where our dear Stacy is. And we are hoping it is quite lovely. And we know that it is quite lovely regardless where all of you live, regardless of what you are seeing outside your window. You see, it may be rainy and dark and cloudless where you are. But the other reality is the sun is out and shining somewhere else. Keep focusing on the sun shining, dear friends. And with that, we wish you a very good day. Well, hello to you, my darlings. That wasn't so difficult, was it? And in truth, sometimes, yes, I do pop in just to do this. I do it for myself first and foremost, but I also do it to make you laugh a bit. So, dear friends, thank you. Thank you for taking some time out to be with us. Thank you for your beingness. And have a good day, my darlings. Okay. Yay. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for being present. Thank you. You should be getting the recording. Thank you for your wonderful comments. Thank you. Thank you for your wonderful sharing of wisdom. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for being present. Thank you for everything that you are. I'm going to repeat what Madam said. Thank you for your, I think she said your being. Thank you for being. Thank you for everything you are being. Just thank you. Thank you. Remember to breathe. I love you. Thank you. Stacy out. You'll get a recording. You'll get a notification of the recording. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.